But now I don't see those cobbles and curbs. I don't hear the blues anymore.
Rough Trade is giving away a third of the first 3 months of the Rough Trade Club plus new music membership exclusively to 101 Part-Time Jobs listeners. Become a member of Rough Trade Club New Music and you'll receive the Rough Trade Album of the Month straight to your door every month on exclusive vinyl pressing with exclusive bonus material. Club members have received exclusive pressings of albums from Sufjan Stevens, Sprints, The Last Dinner Party, Julie Byrne and Over Mono, just to name a few, this past year alone. Sign up using the promo code CLUB101POD and you'll get the Rough Trade Album of the Month, English Teacher's excellent debut album, This Could Be Texas, on exclusive Galaxy Gold for a third of the usual price. Here's English Teacher on a recent episode of 101.
How many opportunities do you get to write a debut album and have all of this, sport behind us? I don't know, I really like the idea of holding the bar as being like classic songs.
You only get one shot at a debut.
Don't want the album of the month but still want all the benefits? Sign up to the standard tier using Club 101 Pod and you'll still get the first month free. You'll also get free shipping on all orders, 10% off the bar and on secondhand vinyl in store, and exclusive access to sold out Rough Trade events. So don't hang around. Go to roughtrade.com/club and sign up with the code CLUB101POD. That's CLUB101POD and claim money off the album of the month, English Teachers This Could Be Texas, today. This offer's available to UK residents only. Do you play in bands? I did for the longest time. And I wish that I knew that DistroKid was a thing. I don't even think it existed back then. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of your royalties and earnings. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all the major streaming services. When you get DistroKid, you can see a DistroKid bank and withdraw your earnings. You get notified when you've earned royalties and you can withdraw via the app. And you can even check your streaming stats on Spotify and Apple. Get 30% off your first year on DistroKid by going to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. 30% off for your first year. That's not bad. We know it's a tough world out there. Why don't you make it easier for yourself? And to get 30% off that free year as an artist, where you get 100% of your royalties and earnings, go to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. All right, stay with me. I'll be right back after this.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey, you're listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs with me, Giles Bidder. It's the podcast where I speak to bands and artists about how they're getting through it after a couple of years away, some time for reflection. Everyone knows how messed up the music industry is in terms of where the money's going, usually not always towards artists, and that can be a pretty depressive thing. But the thing that I find really magical, really exciting, is the way that people come up with their own ideas and build their own worlds. Those are the stories that I'm trying to get here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. So thank you for listening. On today's episode, we got Katie Munshaw from Dizzy. She spoke to me from her flat in Toronto. Dizzy's third album, their self-titled third album, is a brilliant listen. It's quiet, it's really soothing, it goes to a really kind of introspective, very kind of healthy, pure place. Been listening to the record quite a lot since it came out, and after listening to it, I always feel a little bit better than I did before. So I guess that says something. It's come out on Communion, which is a label in London that's brought us Buzzard, Buzzard, Buzzard and Wonder Horse. So lots to go check out there. Yeah, Really loved this chat. We deviated to ghost stories a little bit over halfway through, which I enjoyed. I've always got time for a ghost story. So if you're a fan of the clairvoyant, you've come to the right place. I once asked my friend Harry, no irony intended, who's clairvoyant? But, you know, some days you learn some more than others. Cheers for listening. If you like this show, you can rate or review it. If you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple, please subscribe as well. That stuff does massively helpful things. I'm really enjoying doing this show. I just started doing it more or less with all my time at the start of this year. So I'm trying to make it flow. I've had such a great year of interviewing amazing people, great summer at Reading Festival. So thank you so much, each and every one of you, for listening. You make it what it is. All right, before we get into this chat, I'm here with Rebecca from Eka, brand ambassador for Ampolo, which is a great free app for musicians. Rebecca, could you tell us a bit about Ampolo and who's using it and why and when?
So I've been using Ampolo for a few months now. You can upload any song. So I've been playing around with some Eka bits, or I'm a saxophonist, so I play a lot of Charlie Parker and things like that. So anything goes really, and it demixes it within under a minute. So I can take out that part. So especially for jazz use case, if I'm wanting to improv, myself, I'm not then stuck with Charlie's solo. Said no one ever, but it means that I can experiment with my own, which is really, really, really cool. And alongside that, I'm kind of filming myself, seeing what I look like. And it's great, and you're kind of recording that and then sharing it. It's a little bit of that kind of digital, practice room board. We're looking for a drummer, we're looking for a guitarist, with alongside all these super cool tools, and I'm using it for all the different instruments I play.
And it's out now, Ampolo. It's out there to be had. No downsides.
No downsides. Yeah, go download it and I'll see you in there.
All right, here's Katie from Dizzy on 101 Part-Time Jobs. When you live like an hour away from somewhere, you kind of get that FOMO. You're like, I know there's loads of music going on there, but I'm out here. And I wonder if, I feel like there is a history of people where they've grown up in a small town or a village, and they have to go in. They just have to basically try extra hard.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a conversation that I've had a lot with my friend Ruby, who has lived here her whole life. And just the difference between like pining for a place versus being in the place that has all the things already. Yeah, there is a difference there. There's this interview with actually Jack Antonoff that talks about that, because he's from New Jersey, and he's always looked at New York that way. And it's like this chip on your shoulder a little bit, that you're like, okay, well, I can make it, or whatever, I can make it to that place, or I can make it without that place. It's interesting.
That could be a really powerful thing. Like, your brain is just so powerful with things like that, because you imagine all the fun that people are having. You imagine how good everything is, and you just go crazy. You build up in your mind, don't you?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think in a way you kind of manifest that in yourself. Yeah,
I think it's definitely like a self-defeating thing that you can either use to your advantage or slowly like wither away if you think
or self-empowering. That's how other people are going to do it. That's how other people are doing it in my imagination. So I'm going to do it and just make sure that whatever I'm doing it like as cool as I think it should be, or cooler.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What was it like growing up for music for you? Did you have a local promoter, local bands and artists, people within your reach where you could see from a very human point of view, they're making music a big part of their lives?
I mean, not really. I was really lucky that my elementary school had a songwriting program. So I was writing songs as early as like grade 5 or 6. Wow. And I just knew that I really liked doing that. And then I learned a little bit of guitar. My parents had me in piano, and they sort of wanted that to be nurtured as well as like sports. And but I never loved playing instruments. It was always a vehicle for my words. And then I met the Spencer brothers, who are my bandmates, who music is their entire lives, and it has always been that way. Their parents raised them that way, and so maybe they are that person for me, those people for me that have just like seen music as a way to make a living where I didn't. That just wasn't an option for me when we started Dizzy. Like, I just didn't think that was a possibility. And yeah, I think they're probably those people, actually.
And to nurture it, having those brothers where, you know, people you can speak to every day, you can text, you can ask them for advice, you can feel, you know, you can be vulnerable, you can talk about doubts or, you know, is this good or is that good, and talk about new music. That's so important. I'm the youngest of three, and, you know, the older I get, the more I'm just thankful to have people around, you know, who I could bounce off. And if it's not siblings, hopefully it's friends or other family, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the first step for me was like just like taking it seriously, and you're right, just bouncing even that notion of taking it seriously off of somebody else. And it's like that relationship that what am I trying to say? Like empowers you to make it a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it shouldn't be. It's a bit silly, but it's validation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You should be able to validate yourself, right?
Yeah.
But life doesn't work that way.
No.
I mean, taking it seriously, that's a really important thing. When I grew up with, you know, rock music and punk rock, and a big part of that world is like humility. You know, it's like ska punk bands, you know, joking and taking the piss. I found it very hard to convert the seriousness into what I was doing. I was spending all my time playing in bands and booking shows and doing the management roles, even though I wouldn't have thought of it like that. But I just found it so hard to take it seriously. Is that, I mean, you mentioned it there, has being able to do that and, you know, give it the credit, give it the nurture, give it the love and the organization it deserves. Has that been a bit of a journey for you?
For sure. I think the first couple of years, I mean, we were so young when we started this band that like I literally just like graduated from high school, and all the adults around me were like, are you going to go to university? Like, what's the situation here? Like, when are you going to get a real job? Like, what, that kind of thing. And so trying to convince myself that actually music can be a real job, it still is a struggle. Like I'm very much a person who needs structure in their lives to feel productive and happy, and so it's still a struggle. But I mean, I'm definitely there. I'm surrounded by so many great people in my life now that music is their job, whether it's, you know, being in a band or production or on the live side of things. So I think I found my community, and it was imperative to that realization. So yeah.
And routine, like you need that you talk about structure there. A routine is so vital, so big, and it could be, they could be small milestones. They could be, you know, coffee at the same time or lunch at the same time. It's just, is that you? You're nodding when I was saying that.
Yeah, I mean, tour is a good example of. I mean, I have my own struggles with tour, but having to be somewhere every day and knowing what's going to happen is so good for my mental health. But yeah, when I'm home and we're not in like a writing cycle, it's difficult to, I mean, during the pandemic, that was so rough. I mean, we put out our second album in August of 2020, and when I was just ready to go tour and have my structure back, it was like, I mean, whatever. But so that was difficult. And I actually ended up, because we weren't ready to write yet, I ended up getting a job at a record store in my city. And that really reinvigorated my love for music and provided structure.
I mean, 101 part-time jobs. It's the name of this show. It's the podcast thing. And it started a few years ago when I was interviewing bands and sort of friends and friends of friends. And it kind of grew like that, about their experiences coming home from tour, and exactly what you're talking about there. It's worth saying and worth talking about and enjoying the fact that some of those part-time jobs, I mean, it's almost like natural to think of that as being a bit of a bummer idea, but not always. You learn some stuff. You meet nice people. You have these cool experiences if you're able to open yourself up to it, and if you're able to kind of, you know, come under that, you know, come into it.
Yeah, I think with the record store, at least, it really put things into perspective, and like I am such a small speck in the world, but in the music, like, to ever think that somebody, like, in a good way, like, no one gives a shit, so just do what you want it to be, because in however many years you're gonna have to look back and be like, yeah, I stand behind that decision to make this record or whatever. So
that idea, no one gives a shit, is such an empowering thing, to just go and do your idea, go and do your thing. God.
Yeah, my friend, okay, I don't want to talk about my friend Ruby too much, but she's the best. The other day, she, like, bestowed the best wisdom on me. She was like, give less of a shit, but care more. Like, care, be more thoughtful towards others, but just give less of a shit in general, which I think is, like, the best.
It's interesting how, you know, we think that when we kind of like hold on to these things, that they kind of make for a better, like, more fulfilled life. But when you kind of let some things go, and something might be bugging you, and like there's kind of no end to it, some things you just got to let go, because that you'll live a happier, you know, you live a more freeing life that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to learn to do that more.
Well, we're all on a trip. We're all on these journey things, and you know, it's about. And I think being in a band and being an artist is such part of that, because you're like the mentoree or you're the mentor, and there's a lot of that kind of symbiotic relationships.
Yeah. I agree.
How's it been the last few years? I mean, this new album, Dizzy, the self-titled record, it's great. You know, the most notable thing visually about it is that you're wearing a mask, and the idea behind it, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, it's about the music, it's not about the photos.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, that was when we started making visuals for this record, I was feeling really apprehensive about being on camera, and it was sort of a joke that my friend Ryan, who helped with the visuals, was like, just wear a mask, cover your face, like like if it's such a big deal, haha. And then we were like, actually, that's sick, and it sort of went down a rabbit hole on the internet to find these really beautiful like visuals of people wearing masks, and specifically women wearing masks. It felt really empowering to see, like, just like a woman deciding for herself to hide that part of her because she wanted to. And I mean, like I said, when we got into music, I was so young, and I've always been really shy and not one to, like, really want to be on camera or whatever. So it did feel natural. And again, it felt like a decision that I made for myself, because no one gives a shit. Make the decisions for yourself.
Yeah. I think of that kind of place you go to when you're making I don't know, it could be like a Lego house, or it could be like you're just doing a project at home, you know, on the floor. You know, it's kind of the adult version of being on your knees at Christmas, just playing with your toys, really. Like, playing music feels a bit like that sometimes. And like, what are the coolest things about that? And, you know, hey, specifically to the Christmas point, is that, like, you know, you haven't showered in 3 days, and you're wearing the same PJs as 5 days before. That idea of just kind of, you know, not exactly being fresh, but like really being in your element. Does that play into it?
Oh, totally. I mean, and I think it's taken me this long, like our third record in, to realize that I am the kid in the pajamas. I get to decide what the Lego house looks like. Like, when we started making our first record, I did not know who I was as an artist. Our label was like, do you have songs that you can make into an album? And we were like, yeah, I mean, we play songs live. I guess that could be our album. And at that point, we just, like, didn't really know who we were as people, let alone artists, like, to present yourself to be judged or, like, listened to or liked, like, even, you know, like a
fully formed package. That's what labels want, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think we were ever, like, taken advantage of or anything like that. It was, you know, but I think when you are so, like, underdeveloped, you're looking to be shepherded in a way that if someone's saying, like, well, this is how things are typically done, I've done it for years, and, you know, it ends well, and you should work with this person or this person, it's you find comfort in those people. And I mean, for the first two records, I I think I leaned into that maybe a bit too much. And for this third record, making decisions for myself was such a big part of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing. That's a huge job. That's like one of the big kind of things in your remit that you have of being an artist, is like looking inside from the outside, or all different, and just try working out who you are. What do you stand for? If you're where are your values? What are your values, and where are they aligned? I mean, that's a trip, and that's going to carry on changing throughout your life.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that is some comfort maybe I'll take out of from this is, it'll just keep changing, and hopefully the next record I'll feel even more like myself, and it'll just keep evolving.
I've had a thing recently where, everyone has it. You think of something dumb you said, or something, dumb thing that you did, or, like a way. I mean, as a teenage boy, I acted a bit of an idiot a lot of the time, and I think I beat myself up for it a bit throughout my 20s, and I've just kind of got to a bit where I'm like, well, yeah, because that's what I thought I should do then, and now I've learned and I know better, and that's the way to move forward. I mean, it's almost too easy to drag yourself down, and really there's no point to it. I know that's not exactly what you're talking about here, but it's in the same ballpark.
It is, and I think it feels easy to just be down on yourself or something. Like, it's like there's no growth in that. It's like I feel the exact same way. As of recently, I've been feeling how you were just describing, and it's so easy. It's an easy thing to do. To I don't know what I'm trying to say, but do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
it's almost like not lazy, but it's like to grow, you just move forward. Yeah, I'm speaking to myself right now,
and you've got to put the effort in. You have to just try.
Exactly.
And you can't really go wrong. I mean, because when you do go wrong, you're inevitably going to go wrong. You're going to go down the wrong path. You're going to go in the wrong direction. That's all part of this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
101 part-time jobs, 101 part-time jobs.
Canada's kind of split into the East Coast is obviously so far away, mileage-wise from the West Coast. Kind of two different worlds.
Totally. I love the East Coast, though. I went last summer to PEI for a friend's wedding, and felt like home. Could be in my future.
What's PEI?
PEI, sorry, Prince Edward Island. It's like a province, and
there are some ghost stories there, right? There are lots of ghosts.
Anna Green Gables?
No.
Oh God. Okay, my Canadian is super showing right now. Okay, never mind.
No, you got to tell me.
Oh, it's just I mean, honestly, I don't even know much about it. It's it's a book that is set in Prince Edward Island about a young girl. But yeah.
Anna of Green Gables. I got it up. Great. I'll have a look. Are you a ghost person? Do you believe in ghosts? Into the clairvoyant?
Oh boy, what a topic. Yes, I think I do. My younger sister was super, when I was younger, she would see stuff, and it really freaked me out. I couldn't sleep because I was so afraid of it.
Wow.
There was a time where she was speaking to my grandfather, and it freaked our whole family out. So that made me a believer for sure. What about you?
Yeah. So I'll keep this quick, and I've actually never talked about this on the podcast before, but if you're my friend, I've told you this 30 times or more. When I was really young, got up in the middle of the night to do a wee, 7 years old. So the age where you kind of do that and then you go sleep in your parents' bed afterwards. I went and I snuck and crawled over into the middle of my parents. And I was putting the duvet up over my head, and I saw this blue lady walk from right to left. And it was like a blue hologram, like Star Wars style. Not exactly that, but that was the closest thing I could say. She was wearing a white night dress. I can see it now. I can't picture her face, but she had long hair. She was wearing a white night dress, nightgown, walking from right to left. And I was scared stiff, I was frozen. And the next morning told my parents, and because I'm the youngest of 3 and I was like super hyperactive and kind of that way, no one really believed me. Everyone was kind of like, shut up. And I'm like, okay, that's my role here. I didn't mind it. But my brother and sister would always hear stuff. My sister would hear like hooves in the night, like horses' hooves. My brother would see shadows all the time. One time we came back from holiday and the key just wouldn't work to the door. And it was a long ass trip back from holiday, and took hours for it was in the middle of the countryside. Took hours for the locksmith to come. Couldn't work it out, like just couldn't open it, and then from one second to the next it started working again. There's another time where a tree fell down and it was too far away to hit the house, but it hit the window and crashed through. And when the tree surgeon came, they were like, the tree was like, it's too far away, it shouldn't have done that. So years go by, our dog jumped out the window in that room, from the same room. And I saw that happen. Our Beano, our beautiful black Labrador, jumped out the window. I thought it was a bin liner. Crazy. He was fine. But hurt leg. But like seriously, like
that bit quicker.
Yeah. Sorry. Years passed, and the people my parents had sold the house to, they were like friends of ours from school, so they had their contacts. This woman rang my mum, and they were like, she was like, she asked my mum, have you ever had anything weird going in this house? And my mum was like, no. And my mum was like, she's quite like, she won't not want to talk about stuff, but she's also doesn't really want to talk about it, and she was like, oh, no, why? She was like, well, we have a toddler and they're just starting to speak now, and there's 2 baby gates, and they keep on finding the toddler not in the cot, not anywhere in the middle of the house, but at the very bottom of the house, past the 2 baby gates, out of the cot, on the kitchen table, and the toddler's starting to say, blue lady.
No. No.
Yeah, for real.
Holy shit.
So I think that phone call happened probably 15 years ago. I don't live far away. I live probably 2 hours away from there. I want to go and just knock on the door. What do you think? Do you think I should try and ring ahead, or do you think I go cold call on like a Saturday afternoon?
I mean, what's your plan when you get there? Right?
Like tell them that I lived in this house and judge the vibe. Wing it.
Definitely do that. I want to hear more stories from that. I think you need a podcast just on that. Kids are so scary. I'm never having them for that one reason.
they're like dogs. They can see things see things that other people can't.
Yeah, my sister. So the what happened with her was that she just kept saying like, "Grandpa Daddy's here," and
how old was she?
She was probably like 3 or 4, and she had never met my grandpa's dad, which is her great grandpa. And then we had this like photo on our buffet at home, and it was like a lineup of people at a wedding, and she like pointed to him and she's like, "That's Grandpa Daddy. Yeah. that was like I said, so many sleepless nights and freaked me out for the rest of my life. So
what does she say about it today?
She doesn't remember it.
Wow, that kind of makes it even scarier.
Yeah, I agree.
Fuck. Well then, fucking ghost stories, huh?
Mm.
Do you write from storytelling? Like when you're writing, is it from? Do you think your brain works in a storytelling kind of way, or is it more abstract when you're jotting down lyrics?
God, I mean, I've always appreciated a good story. It's probably why I like writing songs. Also, my parents listened to a lot of like pop country music growing up, which is just storytelling, really.
Yeah.
Like,
That communal kind of, it's about the people.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean, God, like Brad Paisley. Do you know who Brad Paisley is?
No.
Okay, so he was like a huge one in our house that we would listen to, and all of his songs really are like beginning to end stories, and I think that is such a skill to be able to master, to just tell a story within 3 minutes. So I think at least with our first album, I was quite like that, but I think as I've gotten a bit older, it can be limiting, like trying to tell a story in 3 minutes. I appreciate like being able to dabble here and there in different memories, and it also allows me to like pull from different heartbreaks in my life to create one song. So
yeah,
typically one song isn't just about one thing anymore.
Yeah. And this is like a tricky age. You talk about heartbreak. That's something that so many people go through. You know, it's such a poignant thing to talk about. And I don't want to, you know, if you don't want to talk about it, absolutely fine. It's one of it's like such a hard part of life, isn't it? It's fucking, that stuff is cutting, and it goes deep.
Totally. I mean, I've been so lucky I've been in a happy relationship for 10 years now.
Great.
So I've been very lucky, but also not lucky in the sense that it doesn't really give me a lot to write about. So, I mean, of course, there are other ways to have your heart broken. I mean, through friendships and family, and I've definitely had my fair share of those that I've been able to write about. So, and then also, I really love pulling from other people's stories in my life that I love. It's easy to be in their shoes because I feel like I can empathize with them in a way because I love them.
And these are kind of friends, family, people around.
Yeah. Friends, family.
Yeah. Nice. Let's talk about jobs, because you know this kind of idea of side hustles and part-time jobs. I feel like traditionally in music, it's kind of easy to stay away from that topic. Maybe some people don't like to talk about it. I mean, I've literally dedicated my whole life to talking about it. It's probably like projecting my anxieties, because for so long I wasn't embarrassed about it, but I was just so rubbish at it. I felt so lost. I had no identity. Like a lot of my friends were getting full-time jobs, and I wasn't, I was very happy with what I was doing, but I felt like I was missing a huge chunk of life, huge kind of piece of my heart wasn't there. And I feel like there's a conversation to be had there, because I didn't know it at the time, but I wasn't alone. Everyone playing music or prioritizing their creative stuff, whatever it is, or touring, or, it is like, it comes with that kind of, oh, fuck, okay, that's one half of it. What's the other half of it? And trying to figure all that out. I mean, I kind of talked a lot about, there's quite a broad idea there, but when I say all that, what does it make you think of?
It makes me think of many part-time jobs I've had. Right now, I don't have a part-time job just because we're going on tour and nobody will fucking hire me because I'm away and then I'm home and then I'm away. And I'm also lucky that I am able to sustain myself right at this moment. That is not a consistent thing, whatever. We can talk more about that or whatever. But I mean, over the years, I can remember like being so anxious to ask my boss at this like sporting goods store that I worked at, like, can I please, this tour means everything. I need to go for like a month.
Yeah.
Will my job still be here when I come back? And like, eventually he was like, no, it won't be here when you come back this time. But I mean, that job, I hated it. It made me realize that I cannot work retail.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, the records store shop, Cops Records, shout out in Toronto. If you're ever in Toronto, go to Cops Records. They're the best. But yeah, I worked there, and they were so gracious with like letting me go on tour and come back whenever I wanted. But yeah, I guess those are really the only two part-time jobs I've had while I've been in music.
And you mentioned sustaining yourself. This can kind of be it can be a heavy topic, but I mean, especially in our generation, look, so many of us work, different side hustles, and like the idea of a career like our parents and like lots of our parents had. Like certainly my parents had the same job for most of their lives, probably their entire life, and that kind of doesn't really apply to our generation. Like, and that's kind of effects of globalization. You know, we could save up and spend a year in Australia and then come home and save up and spend a year in Southeast Asia. You know, that idea of like we can kind of traipse the world, can't we? And I think that has a knock-on effect of like not wanting to have like this endless sort of, you know, horizon of a job.
Totally. I think I need to lean more into that. I've spent a lot of my 20s like terrified that I'm making the wrong decisions and like going on tour and having a good time. And I think I'm always thinking about the future and like thinking about how this time is going to affect me when I'm in my 30s, 40s, 50s, of course. So that's definitely something I've been thinking about. And like, there is a part of me, and I've spoken to other friends in the creative industry that have said the same. Like, there is a part of me that yearns for that everyday clock in, clock out, 9 to 5. You know, I know this paycheck is coming. But then on the other side of it, I talk to my friends that have that, and they're like, oh, you know, you're so lucky that you get to tour, or like, you're so lucky that, you know, you don't have to, you know, go to an actual real job tomorrow, or you can go to the beach in the middle of the day or do what you want. And there's pros and cons to it all. And I think I'm trying to figure out where I fit in that world.
Well, I think out of those two lives, one of them will always be there for you. And the other one, the opportunity comes and, you know, who knows when the next one is, you know?
That is beautiful. I love that.
Well, yeah, no. There's, I think that for me, like, after playing in band, I tried to get full-time jobs, and I did it for a year or two, and then I ended up getting fired. But that was the best thing to ever happen, because it kind of made me like think, okay, it kind of made me take my life into my own hands. I think it's really easy to hide away from the big things. I think it's easier than we'd like to admit, than, you know, to bury ourselves and our head in the sand and to be like, this is it, this is what I'm doing now, and I don't really know how I'm actually feeling about it. And when I got pushed from this job, I thought, okay, well, what's now? You know, it's time, and you try and hope that you meet some nice people. And I think like having that idea, if you can make something, that's such a beautiful thing. I think it's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. That's so interesting, like burying your head in the sand. I sometimes feel that way about Dizzy. I love writing music, but it has always been the thing that has come easiest to me, like writing songs. And really lucky to be doing it with people that I get along with so well, and we just can make songs quickly and happily. And so I have that feeling sometimes. And I'm in a job that is so free. God, it really is like you just don't know what you have, I think.
101 part-time jobs. 101 part-time jobs.
So I like to finish these, you know, talking about side hustles. I think you need to talk about like going to your sporting goods boss and being like, please, can I maybe, if okay? You know, those kinds of situations that like sometimes we want to forget. Those are the things. I love those kinds of stories. I live for that stuff. Especially with like the work gaffes and the work fails. I used to kind of I fucked up at all the jobs I've ever had. Have you got any work fails that come to mind? Anything that sticks out of like, it was like a real fuck up, or, you know, a real kind of want to slide into the ground kind of moment?
Oh God. I mean, a job before I was even doing Dizzy, I used to do like the timekeeping for lacrosse games. So I was like,
how did you get into that? It's so niche.
Well, I used to play a lot of sports, and I don't know, they were just like looking for people to do it for like no money. And anyway, it would be like me doing the timekeeping and also the shot clock. And there isn't like a specific story, but I just remember, I mean, God, I'm such a sensitive person. And if ever you screwed up, there was like a coach screaming at you over the glass being like, you piece of shit. Like, just like taking it so seriously. So that is probably like the most negative experience I've had on a job. But I
yelled at
by a grown man over a PUE lacrosse game or something.
And his kid would be playing on the pitch.
Just like hand to head, probably like, Dad.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I was playing football once and my mum ran onto the pitch, stopped the game to make me put on a vest under my shirt.
A vest? Why?
Because it was cold out.
Oh.
She was like a fucking whatever a vest does.
Yeah.
You know, just like insulation.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Oh,
She's
man.
hilarious.
Sports parents. Another reason why I can't have a child, because I will turn into a sports parent that will scream on the sidelines like an idiot.
He's become that person.
No, I will. I know I will.
Hey Katie, thanks so much. I really appreciate the time. The record's amazing. Cheers for the good chats, the stories.
Thanks for having me.
So there here be Katie Munshaw from Dizzy on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Their third self-titled album is out now. Go and give it a listen and feel good afterwards. Cheers for joining me. If you can leave a rating or even a review if you got time, if you could subscribe, all of that would be amazing. Sorry to ask, I just care. Back tomorrow, well, back this afternoon actually, with an episode with Mama's Gun that I recorded at Signature Brew Brewery. Love Signature Brew. I was there when Sam McGregor, who's one of the owners, came up with the idea, and it was like that thing in the movie where everything slows down and someone's got an amazing idea, and then 15 years later they have these giant vats in Black Horse Road in North London. That's a bit what it's like. So going around there to interview Mama's Gun at the brewery was amazing. And then tomorrow I've got an episode with Teenage Wrist, who have released an album on Epitaph called Still Love. If you're into the heavier kind of thing, I think you'll like it. They're on tour in the US right now with Teenage Wrist, who I'm a big fan of. I need to get them on the show. Anyone want to hook me up? Cheers for listening. See you soon.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.